The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense latest intelligence update on Ukraine, September 19, 2023. Intense fighting has continued around the islands in the lower Dnipro River in Kherson Oblast over the past 2 weeks, with the area serving as the current front line. Both Ukrainian and Russian forces have conducted raids using small boats against the islands and opposite riverbanks. Russian operations may have intensified since the sector was put under the command of the newly formed 40th Army Corps. While the number of troops involved is small compared to other fronts, both sides see the region as strategically vital. It also presents an opportunity for Ukraine to divert Russian forces away from heavy combat in Zaporizhia and Donetsk oblasts. The islands remain a key area of contention, with control over the Dnipro River critical for supplying forces on either side of the front line. Fierce close-quarters combat is likely to continue as each side seeks to gain the upper hand in this strategically important region. Ukraine Armed Forces General Staff Update. Day 573 of Russia's attempted full-scale invasion of Ukraine continues. On September 19, there were 15 engagements between Ukrainian and Russian forces. Russia launched another wave of Shahed 136 and Shahed 131 kamikaze drones, targeting southern, central and western Ukraine. Ukraine's air defenses shot down 28 out of 31 incoming drones. Civilians in Kryvyi Rih suffered a ruthless missile strike from a Russian Iskander-M ballistic missile. In total, Russia launched 9 missile strikes, 67 air strikes, and 40 multiple launch rocket system attacks against Ukrainian troops and settlements on the 19th of September. These terrorist attacks resulted in civilian casualties and destruction of residential buildings and infrastructure. The situation remains difficult in eastern and southern Ukraine. In the northwest, there are no signs of Russian troop buildup in Volyn and Polisia. Some Belarusian units operate near the border. In Siversk and Sloboshansky, Russia maintains forces near the border and shelled settlements from Russian territory. Airstrikes hit near Leonivka, Popivka, and Rybovsky. Over 30 settlements were struck by artillery and mortars. On the Kupiansk axis, airstrikes hit near Ivanivka and Kupiansk. Over 10 settlements were under artillery and mortar fire. On the Lyman axis, airstrikes hit near Bilohorivka and Spern. Over 10 settlements suffered artillery and mortar strikes. On the Bakhmut axis, Ukraine repelled a Russian attack near Yahedny. Russia unsuccessfully tried to recapture lost ground near Andriivka. Airstrikes hit near Bodanivka and Klishchivka. Over 25 settlements underwent artillery and mortar barrages. On the Avdiivka axis, an airstrike occurred near Avdiivka itself. Artillery and mortars targeted around 10 settlements. Near Marinka, Ukraine repelled 10 Russian attacks. An airstrike hit Krasnohorivka. Artillery and mortars struck around 10 settlements. On the Shakhtarsk axis, airstrikes hit near Vuhledar, Urozhainy, and Staromayorsky. Around 10 settlements were under artillery and mortar fire. On the Zaporizhia axis, Ukraine repelled an attack near Robotyne. Airstrikes hit Levadny and Mala Tokmachka. Over 25 settlements were struck by Russian artillery and mortars. In Kherson, airstrikes hit near Vesel, Olhivka, Lvov, and other settlements. Artillery and mortars targeted around 10 settlements including Antonivka and Kherson City. Ukraine continues counteroffensive operations near Melitopol and Bakhmut, inflicting losses on Russian forces. Russia continues to violate international law, using civilians as human shields in occupied areas. In Tokmak, Russian soldiers have forcibly billeted themselves in elderly residents' homes while looting apartments. On September 19, Ukraine's Air Force launched 16 airstrikes on Russian assets and 2 strikes on air defense systems. Missile troops hid 3 command posts, 1 air defense system, 9 artillery systems, 1 ammo depot, and 1 electronic warfare station. The Institute for the Study of War Key Takeaways today. Recent Ukrainian advances near Bakhmut attributed to better combat coordination, precise artillery strikes, and stronger electronic warfare disruption against Russia. Russian military struggling to find capable units to reinforce the western Zaporizhia front amid significant casualties in recent days. Series of Shahed 131 and Shahed 136 drone and ballistic missile strikes struck Ukrainian rear areas on September 19. Russian Defense Minister Shoigu met Iranian Armed Forces General Staff Chief Major General Mohammad Bagheri in Tehran on September 19. Russian offensive operations along Kupiansk-Svatov-Kremina line, near Bakhmut, Avdiivka Donetsk City, and western Zaporizhia made no progress on September 19. Jake Broe update. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has arrived in the United States and will meet with President Biden and other officials during his visit. Zelensky attended the UN General Assembly in New York City. He then traveled to Washington, D.C. to lobby Congress on approving $24 billion in military and humanitarian aid for Ukraine. Congress is expected to approve the assistance package given broad bipartisan support. Zelensky's visit coincides with the crucial vote. The aid would provide $500 million per week over the next year to sustain Ukraine's defense efforts. In battle developments, Ukraine continues to make gains in the south around Kherson, using small unit tactics. Analysts assess Russia is losing manpower and equipment at an unsustainable rate. Ukraine appears well prepared for winter fighting, while Russia struggles to replace losses. Internationally, several countries have announced new military aid packages for Ukraine, including Germany and South Korea. Photos revealed massive damage to a Russian submarine docked in Sevastopol after Ukrainian missile strikes. Germany stated Russia has pulled back forces from Norway's border to redeploy to Ukraine, disproving narratives of NATO aggression. While Russia continues mass mobilization, widespread reports indicate poorly trained conscripts are being deployed directly to front lines in a desperate effort to stall Ukraine's advances. In conclusion, Ukraine maintains momentum both on the battlefield and diplomatically as Zelensky leverages his U.S. visit to secure more international support. Russia faces long-term decline in military capabilities as losses mount. Ukraine Matters Update. Russian forces underestimated the capabilities of Ukrainian forces in Kherson region. After Ukraine broke through the first defense line, Russia sent reinforcements. These less capable forces reported they were able to halt Ukraine's advance on Kherson. This gave Russian command a distorted perspective. Russia tried to counterattack north of Kherson and the Dnipro River area. However, Ukraine anticipated these attacks and repelled them, inflicting heavy Russian losses. Russia failed to cut off Ukrainian forces. Russia has now shifted attacks further north near trench lines and around Kobzartsi. They are also attacking near Milov instead of directly at Kherson. Russian counterattacks continue but have failed to regain lost ground. Ukraine continues to employ tactics of incremental advances using small mobile groups. This conserves Ukraine's manpower and resources compared to large-scale offensives. Russia has numerical advantage in troops but suffers from lack of experienced leadership and degrading equipment quality. Ukraine likely retains reserves, including ammunition and mechanized units. Analysts assess Russia is losing manpower and equipment at an unsustainable rate. Its supplies and industrial capabilities are inadequate to keep pace. Looking ahead, analysts say Ukraine is well prepared for winter campaign. Troops require less new heating and power sources than last winter. More supplies can go to civilians. Ukraine's tactics are well suited to winter conditions in the south. In conclusion, while hard fighting continues, analysts see momentum shifting in Ukraine's favor in degrading Russian military capabilities long-term. Ukraine makes steady gains while Russia loses experienced leadership and struggles to replenish losses.